We face economic challenges at the state and national and institutional level. All of them tend to intersect so that federal financial aid, as the government tries to balance the budget, may be in peril, or at least the way an institution depends on it may need to change. State governments are rethinking their support for institutions. That has an impact. As families think about selecting institutions for their students, they think about their capacity to afford cost. So there are a variety of economic dimensions happening at all sides. I think for new board members at private institutions, many of them think public policy doesn't really matter. It's a private institution. But we get a significant amount of our revenue from the federal government through financial aid for students. Federal support for faculty research is critically important to what we do. So there are aspects of public policy that we need board members to be conscious of. The demographics are changing. There are going to be fewer traditional age graduates. There are going to be more students of color. There are going to be more families who are challenged to afford the cost of college. There are going to be more first-generation college students. All of that changes what happens in the classroom. It has impact for the demands of services as we want to ensure that students complete and complete in a timely manner. So that's another thing I think trend that board members need to think about. Technology is often something that individuals think is a cost saver. And in my 25 plus years in higher education, I've never seen technology be a cost saver. It always expands costs. So even if we think about reaching more students through technology, I'm not sure that that is going to result in reduced costs. So thinking about technology, thinking about the link between technology and the mission of a particular institution is something board members need to be aware of. What works for one institution might not work very well for another. So the economy is something we have to focus on. Technology is something we have to focus on. Helping board members be sensitive to, but not completely absorb and agree with, the kind of challenges higher education is receiving now, the scrutiny that we're receiving, the devaluing of the liberal arts, the devaluing of the humanities. What I think is most important is that board members are deeply tied in to institutional mission. And then think about how all these other factors impact the institution's ability to fulfill its mission. I think that the challenges are so great now that boards really need to be deeply engaged in the life of the institution they're responsible for. I think there was a time board members could come, listen to reports, and go home. Now we need boards not only to be engaged with the fiduciary responsibilities, but at times to really help us go beyond strategic, to think about the new things, to be generative. It makes for a bit of a challenging relationship for boards to sometimes be deeply engaged in generating the ideas that might be important for an institution and then stepping back and allowing the staff and the administration to craft those ideas. We're at a time that we need the best talent at the board table, and we need to think about how we effectively leverage it to serve our institutions. I think I have seen board members really want to become more engaged, to hear from experts outside of the institution about what they're predicting is the future for higher education. So on one hand, board members want to be engaged. They want good, solid information that they can make decisions on. I think they want to hear it from sources outside of the institution so that it has third-party validity, if you will. The other danger, though, I think, is that boards can get very nervous. If the question is, does the financial model work? How are we managing all the risk we have? There can be a real tendency, if boards are not careful, to begin to micromanage. And there's a very fine line, I think, between the appropriate engagement of the board and the board, particularly because higher ed can change so slowly, wanting to roll up their sleeves and become the managers. It's a very fine line, I think, and all the questions, the unknowns that are out there now, I think lend themselves to the tendency to micromanage.